Hello ladies and gentlemen, Willie here. Quite a few big bits of news today, more so for one class than others, but this is a pretty interesting departure from the design philosophies that Blizzard have been applying to Classic thus far, because Hunters just straight up received some pretty meaningful buffs on the PTR that will see them rise up the DPS charts in Naxxramas. On top of this, a drama around PTR testing for the upcoming content, and perhaps it looks like Shadowlands delay won't have a bearing on our Classic timeline after all. Let's get into it. First of all, the Dread Citadel Naxxramas will become available for testing on the PTR at certain dates from this point onwards. I'm personally glad to see that it's being tested this time around, as no doubt many of the top guilds will flock to the content to perfect their tactics for the final tier of Classic. Not that they would need to particularly of course, but practice always makes perfect, and these guilds are the perfect candidates to ensure that the content is working as intended for when tier 3 opens up for the masses sometime later down the line. The reason I mention this is because AQ40 was not tested on the public test realm to keep a bit of hype and secrecy back for the content then, I imagine. However, it did release with two major issues, first of which was the frost damage ones were not counting as a frost attack on Viscidus, making one of the more challenging encounters in the instance that bit more difficult. But more importantly, Cthulhu was not firing off I-beam the moment somebody peeked inside his room. I'm sure you've all seen the clips now of entire guilds getting chain beamed down, and it's this kind of thing you can look back and laugh at, but on launch Cthulhu would give you a good 30 to 40 seconds before doing anything whatsoever, totally trivializing entering the room, which is widely considered a part of the fight that's very important and meaningful. This was actually a nerf Blizzard implemented from a later patch, but was carried on over to live from their reference client. It's for reasons like this that I'm happy to see Naxxramas is being tested, because I'm quite sure the majority of testers will be guys who have done this content more than once or twice, and I'm not talking about vanilla. It may not end up being the hardest version of Naxxramas ever, but at least I think it will be correct and working as it should be, which is something to be happy about. And along with this on the PTR, AQ40 has once again been enabled on it, leading to some level of outcry that it will detract from the natural progression of the speedrun scene in this currently live raid, since any guild can copy fully world buff raids and try an infinite number of time, which will let them test new strategies very efficiently. And now that it's current content and was indeed never tested on the PTR, I guess sure, I can't really disagree. I see a very small number of progression guilds, or any at all, who are still progressing at this point in time actually using the PTR for this, compared to speedrun guilds taking advantage of this change. It's what they play the game for, it wasn't on the PTR before, keeping it off it does make sense for me. Moving on, we have some outlines of the new content, which I just happened to have done a video about a little bit ago, so if you wanted any more information on this new content that isn't just strictly Naxxramas coming in Phase 6, I will link that below for you now. Okay, on to the juicy stuff. Hunters just got buffed, just straight up buffed. Well, it was listed under bug fixes, but there are two real changes that Blizzard had previously rationalized as existing for one reason or another. So here they are. First of all, resolved an issue that caused Hunter's auto-shot ability to occasionally experience a slight delay on recast if its cast was interrupted by aimed shot. So, having played a Hunter quite a bit, this is noticeable. I also want to bring up something from the not a bug list that Blizzard did and was well known about during the beta phase of Classic about the Hunter retry system, which honestly does not feel good to play with at all. But it's not the same thing as this bug fix as far as I am aware. What causes this to happen is, imagine you're about to auto attack on your warrior, but you move and your attack gets delayed by 0.5 seconds because you have to stand still whilst attacking, and there is this built-in delay, sort of like slam. Whereas this bug fix affects having an auto cast, interrupting that with aim shot, and then cancelling aim shot and trying to auto shot again. If this does totally hit the retry system and throw it in the bin, that would be fantastic, but I don't think it will. This scenario that they're fixing shouldn't really happen that often either, where you need to cancel two things in a row, unless something's gone very wrong. Either way, it's only ever going to be a good thing that this is getting updated. Next, Hunter buff, and this is sort of the highlight of the patch if I'm honest. Many helpful auras and buffs that improve attack power now properly apply to ranged attack power. What this means is world buffs are now actually worth picking up for Hunters, and the rationalization from Blizzard is honestly pretty strange. They say this was an issue that was a result of a technical limitation in original World of Warcraft that was fixed in later updates to the game. The same logic here was applied to the reasoning behind us having 16 debuff slots instead of a further expanded number in later versions of the game, and there are plenty of other things that we still deal with due to technical limitations or design intentions, like how elemental damage on weapons isn't elemental, or GCD's blocking on hit effects from occurring. Why was this one changed then? Well, Blizzard had found that the tier 3 set bonuses for Paladins and Shaman, which has a proc to grant attack power to Hunters, amongst other various bonuses, was only giving melee attack power, so they decided to fix this and allow it to give ranged as well for Hunters. And with that, every other instance where something was tagged as just attack power was only counting for melee attack power, which they have now updated to also include ranged attack power. So Hunters now gain ranged attack power from the likes of Onyxia buff, Juju Might, Diamond Tribute buff, and so on. Basically, if it just says attack power, it will now count for ranged and melee. And of course, if it specifically just says melee, like on Battle Shout, it will not count. As for how large this will be, I'll let the big brains figure that one out, though Hunters still don't have the best scaling out there. This will push them up the DPS charts. Will be interesting to see by how much, especially once you're decked out in Naxxramas gear. Also, randomly, the improved weapon totems talent, which hasn't been working since launch, apparently works now. Fantastic, all 12 enhancement shamans rejoice. Finally, the PTR being up now means that it looks like Shadowlands delay may not have as much bearing on our content for Classic as would have been initially anticipated. Just for reference, the PTR for Phase 5 went up on the 12th of June, and the actual patch came out on July 29th, so about 1.5 months, give or take. I'm expecting a longer cycle this time around, as Naxxramas will be tested on certain dates. It's not permanently up on the public test realm. And as we had previously heard, Phase 6 was rumoured for early December. Now this is looking more and more likely, given that we know at which time the PTR will be going up. December 8th or 15th, Phase 6 could just be our final stop for Classic content. And if this fits the bill perfectly, then the follow-up rumours of TBC beta being March and possibly launching in May could just be in store of what's waiting for us next. All in all, a lot more news out of this patch than I expected to occur. I'm looking forward to seeing how much these changes impact the more competitively driven Hunter players, how top guilds will find Naxxramas after their first trip through on the PTR, and just whether content will be coming out on the dates I expect in the future, between Shadowlands Phase 6, all the TBC speculation, and everything else. It's a good time to be a WoW player at the moment, and I like being able to say that. What are your thoughts on all of this? Anything you want to see out of the patch or moving forwards? Hit me up below. Thanks all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one very soon. If you like what you see, do give the video a like and subscribe, as there will be plenty more to come. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.